So, I just finished catching up on comments from the weekend. And there was two I wanted to address with the spoken word for everybody. One, which was just like obnoxiously irksome. It didn't upset me. I wasn't offended. It was obnoxiously irksome. I range you guys' comments in level of irksomeness. It either goes into the positive irksome, which is not irksome, whatever. The irksome comments, they get a spectrum. This was very, 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 very high on the spectrum, or low on the spectrum, however you want to fucking look at it. It was poorly thought out. Like, just to say it was poorly thought out. There's no challenge in it. It really didn't take me long to come up with my response. And it nagged in my mind until I got to finally put it out there. Because like I said, I'll skim through you guys' comments when I don't really want to take the time to respond. And then I go through and respond. I caught that one on the skim. And I was like, oh. Like, I just knew it was going to bug me. It bugged me. It bugged me like a fucking gnat at a barbecue. Just bugging the shit out of me, right? And the other one was like, just slightly irksome. It's just kind of one of those, alright dude, it's your moment type of things. So we'll start with the slightly irksome. Cause let's go in ascending, descending order. Right? The slightly irksome comment was essentially along the lines that the Civil War actually had very little to do with freeing the slaves. And my thought on this was, okay, so like it still had something to do with freeing the slaves, right? Like, I get that there was a lot of other things going on. The South wanted to cede, and there was the other thing, and they were trying to court the crown, and there's a whole lot of shit going on. Yeah, I know. But like, freeing slaves was in there too, right? Like, it was one of the concerns. Like, it was an issue that the war was fought over, right? Because like in the Iraq War, that was to get rid of the terrible, terrible, terrible tyrant leader Saddam Hussein. That was just an awful, awful man. And we needed to get that man off the throne and take him out of there. And there was oil. I mean, the oil is like a way lesser part of the Iraq War. But like, you know, soldiers still fought over oil fields. Did any soldiers fight over slaves? Because like, if that happened, then it becomes a war over that issue too. Which means it's a war over that issue. Like, a war can be fought for 100 different reasons. And they're all reasons why the war was fought. So, okay, slavery wasn't the primary concern. Fair enough. I know that now. But it was a concern, right? Like, it was still involved, like, it was still there. So it's not really, like, did you listen to my point? This is always this is why it's irksome, because I want to go, yeah, but okay, I will concede to you that. But did you listen to my point? Like, did you listen to the part that had something to do with what I was saying? Because what you're saying has nothing to do with what I was saying. Like, it was still a war that was fought over, that was an issue, right? Or am I told... Was the entirety of the Civil War fucking nothing to do with slaves? Like, it had nothing to do with freeing the slaves? Not even remotely? People just inserted that, like, later on, just 'cause? Oh yeah, and that too. Is that what you're telling me? It had nothing to do with it? Because if it had something to do with it, that has nothing to do with my point. My point was that we, fought a war over it. A lot of people died in that war. Now, I mean, I guess if we want to dice it up and go, well, slavery was only 10% of the concern. Well, 10% of the amount of people that died in the Civil War is a lot of fucking people. If you really want to dice it up like that, it just seems to be like we're splitting hairs here. Like, it was still about... I think I've made my point. Anyways. So, yeah, that's the minorly irksome one. Apparently the Civil War was not exclusively fought over slavery. Okay. But it was still fought over slavery. Yeah. You did listen to the rest of it. Anyway. So, moving on to the major annoying one. The major annoying one was somebody decided to read off the body count of all the people that died in World War II. All the soldiers, POWs, this, that, and the other thing. And then the question was asked, so what makes 6 million Jews so special? Now, I do know a little bit something about World War II. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure you will. Because I'm sure I'm wrong. To the fucking literally historian of World War II. Dude, you know so much about the Civil War, but still, it was still about it. Alright, anyway. So, literally a historian of World War II could probably correct me on this, but hey, I'm going to give you my rough fucking thoughts on what I know. So tell me if I'm wrong. As far as I know, the National Socialist Workers' Party, or what was known in the U.S. as the Nazi Party, they kind of did this little takeover of Germany. They voted Hitler in. Hitler decided to kind of more or less give himself all of this power. They kind of said, alright, yeah, cool. And then he went fucking ridiculous, right? And so he kind of like took over Germany. And then he kind of started to take over other little pieces of the land here and there. He started to spread out because he just needed more space, right? And then people were like, well, no, we don't, no. And he was like, okay, well, I'm just going to take that shit by force then. And then World War II, right? All the banners were called. Hitler's trying to take over the entirety of Europe. And who knows where else after that? So, and he joined up with, I believe, China and Russia. Right? All the bad people, all together. And they took on, like, everybody. Everybody else. They took on everybody else. And, right, we jumped in. A whole lot of people died because Hitler was trying to take over the world. And everybody was like, yeah, we don't like the idea of that. Now, that was what World War II was fought over. We didn't know about the Holocaust and, you know, that whole thing until we, like, made our way into Austria and got to fucking Auschwitz, I believe. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. But we didn't know about that shit at the beginning of the war. From what I know. Right? So, when we did finally find out what was going on, you know what else we found out? They were fucking civilians. You ass. You're comparing soldiers that were sent into war to civilians that were scooped up off the streets, loaded onto trains, and sent to death camps. When you go to war to fight off the National Socialist Workers' Party's overtaking of the world, you expect there's going to be more than a couple casualties. Many of them are going to be soldiers. Many of them might even be POWs. It's not something we like. It's something generally we frown upon. It's not good in the theater of war to be killing POWs. Yeah, like that shit happens in war. When you go to war, yeah. But you know what doesn't happen? You know what makes a group of people special when it does happen? Is when you just pick up fucking civilians off the street and go, oh, you're Jewish. Alright, you're gonna come with us. And they arrest you because you're guilty Jewish. And then they load you on a train and ship you to death. That's special. That's a special new low for humanity. And I hear you. A lot of peoples have been targeted for extermination. But you know what? That was pretty bad. Like, that was pretty bad. The conditions were pretty bad. They weren't just giving them the clean, honorable death if we're just gonna ride into your fucking tribe's little mud hut town and fucking just slaughter you all. It's not as graceful as launching missiles back and forth against other armed combatants and civilians. This was just straight up grabbing civilians up off the street and sending them on the train to hell. I'll never get it. I'll just never get it. Like the whole fucking thing of it, I'll never get. Like, I could see wanting to sit there and argue the devil's advocate just for the giggles. And I can see doing it purposefully just to bother people. But, like, dude, so anyways, yeah, that's what makes them special. Because it wasn't expected by anybody, I don't think. And you ain't gonna get me with, well, that's just what you were taught. You ain't gonna get me with that shit. Grandpa was there. I had an inside source. So, suck a dick, son. You're gonna tell me not to believe my grandfather's stories? No. So, yeah. There isn't a one of you out there who's gonna tell me anything about World War II. That. No. So, yeah. That was my take from the weekend. I hope everybody had a good weekend. I would like to get into, tomorrow we'll get into some of the other shit that happened over the weekend. I want to talk about Trump's rally and all the shootings. So, should be a fun day tomorrow.